number one source. Sports Card Nation. The hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to episode 348, Sports Card Nation. The National is complete and in the books. If you attended, I hope you had a great time. I hope you had safe travels back home, wherever that may be. Hope you got everything you hope to obtain and had a great trip. And, I'm recording this before, I'm even left for the National. I'm kind of buttoning stuff up, and I hope the same for myself. And, it's a great event. I enjoy going, and I try to go every year. I don't know if I'll be able to do it all the time. I think I'm on 6 straight, but, life happens sometimes, as we all know. But so far, so good. Part 2 of our great conversation with Erik Myers. And Erik Myers is, got a great collection. He's worked in the hobby for a few different entities, but he's human like us, and he's sharing some of that human element. I think we can learn from everybody, right? But we can definitely learn from Erik, and very forthright, very knowledgeable, and appreciated. Busy guy, so we appreciated him coming on. And this is part 2 of our conversation with Erik. If you missed part 1, by all means, I'd love you to go back to last week's show and check that out. Thank our sponsors here real quick. Iron Sports Cards. Rob does a great job with the bulk sub. New York City guy, Long Island, to be exact. Sports Collectors Digest, one of the oldest hobby publications, still going. I'm blessed to be able to write for them. Hobby Hotline, we're doing our summer schedule, first and third Saturdays of each month. Second and fourth in August with the National, and Upper Deck, some of the best designed cards, and been around a long time in their own right. So kudos to them, shout out to them. So, all right, with that being said, it's time to start the show. Now the conclusion of our conversation with Erik Myers, and we're going to get into, I got into drug and alcohol use, and got to a very dark place, including being homeless. How crazy is that, to where he is now, proving, you'll hear me say that potentially can happen to anybody, right? And so, again, he's going to share some of that, and, how he, overcame odds to get out of that, stay clean, and build a great reputation and a great business. So we're going to start there. I know you've talked about it on your social media. You've talked about it a little bit even on other shows. You battled some personal demons to get to where you are now. I love redemption stories. I have, in my family, I have thankfully a redemption story. For as deep as you want to take, you don't have to spend spend a lot of time. It's your story. I don't want to put you in a, but kind of talk about being at that point, and then obviously in a different point now.
Yeah, March will be 19 years. I have been clean. March 3rd.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and off drugs. I mean, I drink occasionally, so I never really had a drinking problem.
Yeah.
So it was just a substance issue, but it was basically every substance. The methamphetamines was unfortunately the one that really hung on to me the longest. And it took everything from me. It took my parents, my family, my friends. It took every dollar I owned. It took the socks off my feet. It left me homeless, living under a bridge outside after going in and out of jail for, I collectively probably spent a couple of years there if you add it up. I think it was 5 felonies, 17 arrests, somewhere around that area. And it broke me to complete, internally, psychological, physical, spiritual poverty. That's the best way to say it. It broke every aspect of me that known to man that you could think of, to the point where I was homeless, living under a bridge, like truly living under the I-45 bridge. It's an area called Tent City in downtown Dallas, and I never. It's difficult. I think that was harder than the military by far, being homeless, because it's not only a self reflection of where you took yourself, but you also get to see how other people treat you at your lowest. There's there's another side to humanity people don't see unless you're in that area. I mean, there was literally for 2 years, 18 months, the only time people looked at me was to spit in my face, or tell me to f off. Like that was it. Like that was people just don't care at that level, and so I think that's a hard thing to deal with even today. So that's why I still to this day I do volunteer work and service work and social work. Just it still helps me digest that part of those moments in my life. But thankfully, after hitting bottom, I was able to get clean and to join the military. I was only clean for a little bit before I joined the military. I was fortunate enough to have that opportunity, and that was an opportunity I wasn't going to let go of. But now I still work a lot with recovering addicts. I'm going to start writing a book here soon on that adventure. And it was probably I'm not going to say I wish things would have been different, but it was very eye opening. It was definitely scary. It was probably the scariest of my life. It's very hard to believe. It's I don't want to say post traumatic stress, but it's still very difficult for me on a daily basis to see that where I'm at. I still work at a level to where I think I was homeless Monday. There's still little things in my life that are odd when I pack up. Like when I go to the National this year, right? When I travel, I usually travel with 2 to 3 times more socks. So if I'm gone for 5 days, I'll probably pack 12 to 15 pair of socks. And it's
I do
weird.
that with to make you feel a little bit better, Eric. I do that with shirts, and like at the net, you wind up getting free shirts on top of that from different. So it's like, why do I pack so
But
many shirts?
But for me, it's because there was a time
Yeah,
I went, there was probably a 6 to 8 month period there that I didn't, when I was homeless, I didn't own socks. So it's stuck. And it's weird because like people don't know those parts about me, so I'm so OCD about it's, even though I know that I'm not in that situation, my body still acts and behaves as if you better take those because you just never know. And it's been 20 years almost, so it's really it's strange, but yeah. And I enjoy being able to help other people get out of that situation. I think one of the things I enjoy most is being able to tell people that they can truly make out of their life whatever they want. And I think that there's a large part of society that just goes along with the norm, and that there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. But you're not beholden to that. You're not beholden to that mentality, especially with today. You have a supercomputer in your pocket. You can learn anything you want as fast as you want, and extract it, whether it's stocks, cryptocurrencies, cards, collectibles. It could be sports cards, Pokemon, TCG. It could be watches. It could be anything, right? So there's no limit to what the human can achieve economically, regardless of where you came from. So I think I've seen people that are my friends that are in their early 20s that I met them when they were 14 or 15, and now they're a millionaire from collecting. But ultimately it derives from believing in themselves, to taking that chance, to chasing that dream, and to kind of walking a lonely road. Because if you think about it, if you're going to go all in on yourself to sports cards or cryptocurrencies or stocks at the age of 14, 15, 16, yeah, and maybe not so much stocks, cryptocurrencies because it's socially acceptable. But in this aspect of cards and collectibles, I think it can be a lonely road. So people kind of got to take off and walk that road on their own. But that'll probably be the best lonely road you'll ever walk. And you'll look around a couple years later, and you're up here, and all the people in your peer group are down here economically. And you've learned how to fail. You learned how to succeed. You've lost money. You've made money. You've learned how to deal with the emotional stress of both of those, right? Because you make good money. Next thing you know, you're maybe not acting the same way you used to act. You need to have those bruises on your head, and learn how to accept the highs, but also learn how to accept the lows when you lose 10, 20, 50,000 bucks, and find that even kill self, because that's really where you lies in the middle of that. That's where you should be.
well, kudos on a couple fronts here, Eric, for getting yourself out. Like you said, staying clean. Congrats on 19 years, and then that's an accomplishment in itself, right? And then now, in turn, trying to help others do the same through your experience, right? I mean, I think you would agree, like that stuff. While you really have to be driven yourself to want to get better and get out of that, you do have help along the way, and you're trying to do that for others, right? You could be the difference in whether that happens or not. And you don't have to do that, right? You could just sort of live your life without doing that, and you wouldn't be wrong necessarily. So I think it's special too to continue to try to help others. And who knows better what someone like that's going through, right? Than you, because you've been there, sort of done that, and I think there's a lot to be said that. I know I talked to you before we started recording about Randy Lerch, former major league pitcher, who was an alumnus of the show, and he's doing the very same thing. And I don't think that's easy to do. Maybe sometimes people who do that make it look easy, but I don't think it's easy. So I don't have a hat on, but hats off to you and others who do that. I think it's important yeoman's work, and could be a difference maker in someone's survival. Not to be dramatic, but it could be that, and it's important work. So thank you.
You are listening to the Sports Card Nation podcast. We'll be right back after this break.
Hobby Hotline is the hobby's only live interactive call-in show. Join some of your favorite hobby personalities every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, to discuss the hottest hobby topics. If you miss us live, catch us after the fact on all major podcast platforms. Follow us on socials at Hobby Hotline.
We are back.
Kind of moving on to more hobby stuff again. You've lived and traveled a lot. How is I know it's hard to surmise just in one statement. Every area is different, but in the States we're sort of spoiled with the hobby. How is in your travels to overseas and other countries? How is the hobby different to what we might see here in the
Every culture is a little different, right? We're more,
Yeah.
let's say the European culture is probably closest to the same as here. Very, very fast, very transactional. The Asian cultures may a little slower. They're more. I noticed when I went to Korea, when I lived in Korea, when I went to the card shows there, a lot of it's more about each other learning each other's collection. Usually, when you go meet somebody for the first time, you might not want to be so transactional driven. My advice is start asking them about their collection. Don't discuss pricing maybe so much unless they offer it up unless they start that part of the discussion. In Asia, it's usually kind of how it is. You want to just learn more about them and their collecting habit, and they want to do the same about you. It's more about the relationship building and more about the appreciation of you, why you collect what you collect, and you being interested in collecting what they collect. I find that to me it was a lot more appealing. I like that. I don't get me wrong. There's pros and cons to both aspects, but I'm just older now, So I guess if I was younger, maybe I would like more of the Western culture where it's just high transaction, high volume and stuff. I think my favorite place that I visited of all the places is the Philippines, and I love my Korean brothers and sisters and Japanese brothers and sisters and all my friends that I met in China and everywhere else. The Philippines was just a whole nother level. It really was. I've got so many people that I've met over there that will be friends for life. I can't even start to begin to tell people how grateful I am that I've met those people over there. It's probably the greatest blessing that I've ever had is to be able to travel the entire world. Because of this industry, I can go to any country and I have friends there. And it's a very, very great experience. I haven't had a chance to go to the Middle East yet. I'm really looking forward to that. But I do think that one thing I like about cards is, for the most part, maybe things have changed a little bit over the past couple of years, and I hope that they don't continue to go down that road. But for almost my entire collecting experience, regardless of whether you were Republican or Democrat or however you looked at things in your life, religiously or politically, the difference is that most of us have to walk on eggshells on your regular life, right? for the most part, that stuff just kind of stayed outside when you went inside to the card show. People didn't really care who you voted for or what your personal beliefs were. They kind of were unified on the love that we all shared for this industry and this hobby, right? Whether that we loved collecting. That took precedence over everything else. That outside of those rooms, all these other divisive things took precedence. And I fell in love with that. I'm 40. I'm 47. I have never, still to this day, collecting is the purest human experience that I've had because there are people that are all walks of life that can go in one room together. And unfortunately, I hear a lot more of the political rhetoric and whatever, like on social media and at card shows. I hope it leaves, but the purest form of human relations that I've ever experienced in my life is on the playground when I was a kid, like when I was 5, 6, and 7, and then cards. Because it's where people can just enjoy things together. And I think for humanity, there needs to be a better bond in that. We need to value that and hold on to that as opposed to allowing the negative things in our life to come into that aspect.
Yeah, no doubt. Well said. I've always said, Eric, the hobby's just one big fraternity. We may all have different colleges or schools or places we went to, but when we're in the hobby, we all go to that same school, so to speak, or train of thought, right? We're collecting what we love. We're doing what we love. We have a passion, whether it's sports based or not. And like you said, I don't think there's a place. I think politics has to be on the outside of that room rather than the inside of that room. And I know it's important. I'm not sweeping it under the rug and saying it's not important, but the hobby's an outlet, right? That's something we enjoy. Not to politics generally divides people. There are
Well,
two sides or more sides.
from my
Yeah, go
perspective,
ahead.
when I go into collecting, when I go into card shows and stuff, I don't even want that to be important. I want it to be non-existent. Like I want it to not exist in my life
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I have friends from all spectrums. Like I literally have friends from every spectrum that's divisive, and I don't want to look at them any different. Like I really don't. I want to look at them with the same purity and heart that I look at them on a daily basis. Because I got one shot at this life, man. If I can't make a difference in other people's life with this one shot, then what am I doing here? Am I just collecting things? Am I just making money? Right? Like at some point, you kind of got to ask yourself, like, what are you doing here? So. And the best thing you can do is make a difference. Horace Mann once said you should, and I'm paraphrasing it, but he said you should be ashamed to die until you made a monumental impact on the betterment of humanity. So I think that always sticks with me, right? Like you should continuously be trying to make a monumental impact on whether you're at work or your daily walk or whatever it is you're doing in life. You should be trying to make a better impact for the humanity around you. But
I
I'm to back.
definitely.
Yeah, back to your original
Yeah,
question. I'm just grateful to have had the experience. I mean, every culture is
yeah,
different, and I wish everybody my type of success. I hope everybody
yeah.
gets to go and travel the world and go to card shows, go to Germany, go to France, go to Paris, go to the UAE, Qatar, go to the Philippines, go to they got the card show in Macau, the card show in China. It's every year. Go to that thing. Take that trip. Even if you don't buy anything, even if that's just your vacation, man, the moments are so worth it.
No doubt, and the hobby's becoming, or it's not becoming, it is a worldwide hobby, and it's becoming more so. Is probably a better way to say. I know we're up against the clock a little bit. You've got an incredible autograph collection. You read different. You're hearing a lot of stuff coming out about a lot of like the FBI cracking down on some rings where there's forgeries going on. Your stuff. I know it's hard in just a few minutes, but for those who collect autographs or thinking about doing more of that or getting into it, just some advice as someone who knows what they're doing in that space to be careful and avoid getting burnt.
Yeah, I would definitely stick to my personal opinion and stick to stuff that's got the highest quality COA, right? Like whether it be PSA, JSA, or it depends on the sport, right? It depends on the collecting sport. Upper deck authenticated stuff to that effect. Really do your research. I mean, that's very, very important. And if you're talking about cards, you want something that says in the back of the card, this card is autographed. Something that it's denoted there. In-person autographs, vintage stuff. So I'm a big collector of Babe Ruth autograph stuff. All of my stuff has, all of my personal Babe Ruth baseballs have at least 2, if not 3 COAs. I think that's very important to try to get as much provenance, or not as much provenance, as much a certification as you can. That way, it's the more the better. Just do your research, do your studying, ask people that know. Don't be knee-jerk reactive. If the deal's too good, sounds like it's too good to be true, it most likely is. It's not worth the extra 20% gain isn't worth the 100% risk. That's important. If the item should be worth 15 grand, the guy's trying to sell it to you for 7. Maybe it's best to ask 3 or 4 people or just pass. You really gotta do your research on the history, and especially if it's cards. Go look for historical sales data on those items.
My apologies for some audio issues there, especially on the back end of that conversation. Had some inclement weather and affecting the internet, and got a little spotty there, but I cleaned it up as best as I could. I think it came out, considering how bad it was, I think it came out fairly well. So thanks again, Erik Myers. We didn't even get to some of the things on my list, so love to have him back on and kind of talk more, chop up a little more hobby than we did. But glad to have him and appreciate it. Going to hear from our Hobby is the People announcer of the week and wrap up this week's episode.
Time for our Hobby is the People announcer of the week.
This is Rob Petrozzo from Rally, reminding you that the hobby is the people. It's not any corporations or breaks. It's not even fractional companies. It's not any of that. It's people, and the people that make collecting great and make it what it is.
If you'd like to be the Hobby is the People announcer of the week, do a WAV or MP3 file and send it to sportscardnationpc@gmail.com.
I do wish we could chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner. Bye.